Cool. What is going on, everyone? So today we're doing the very first Q&A for the channel, which I'm super excited about. A couple days ago, I put a story up on my Instagram because I wanted to do this Q&A so I could get a bunch of questions that you guys wanted answered. And I actually got almost over like 50 replies and questions, which I wasn't expecting at all. So I've taken what I thought were the best ones, what would be the most valuable to answer, and distilled them down. So we're going to cover them today. And there's a really, really good variety of just general business related questions, mindset related questions, specific marketing agency related questions, and investment related questions. And so I'm excited to break these down. Also as well, this is not the last time I'm going to be doing a Q&A. And so if you want to have a question featured in one of the next ones that I do, definitely go and follow me on Instagram. Also as well, just because I'm like posting on there every single day, just about what I'm working on between both of the businesses. So you get to see a bit of behind the scenes of what I'm working on a daily basis as well. It's just liam.casey. If you're not following me, go ahead and give us a follow. So the first question that we got was, if you could only recommend 3 books, what would they be? So it would have to be definitely these 3 books right here that I just picked out. I've got a bit of a bookshelf behind me, but these 3 right here. So number 1 would definitely have to be Psycho-Cybernetics. This is kind of like a lot of people consider this the OG mindset book. Tony Robbins refers to this book a lot, and it's kind of what a lot of the more modern mindset books are based on. This one really, really resonated with me because I'm not super into like the woo-woo spiritual world when it comes to mindset. I'm mostly a very logical, scientific, more practical thinker and type of person. And so that's why this book really resonated with me, because it puts mindset into it just explains it so well, where it makes perfect sense why these different strategies and tools are so important and valuable for succeeding in life. And so if you haven't read this one yet, definitely read it. If you haven't read it twice, definitely read it again, because it's that good. Next would have to be Built to Sell. This is a book that I was recommended by a mentor about a year and a half ago, and I didn't know at the time, but this book is actually directly about advertising agencies as well. But essentially, at the end of the day, to build any good business, a good business should be able to be sold. And so if you're wanting to grow a business, I think it makes sense to begin with the end in mind. And even if you don't have direct goals or plans to sell a business right now, building a business through the lens of, could this business be sold? You're going to end up building a better business. And so this tells a story of an owner of an advertising agency going through the process of taking an agency that couldn't be sold to an agency that could. And so I would 100% recommend this book to any marketing agency owner out there. Next is a bit of an obvious one at this point, but Alex Mosey's $100 million Offers. If you have not read this book yet, you're doing yourself a disservice. It's somewhat essential reading at this point. If you have an online business, this book just gives you the best foundations possible for creating impactful, high converting offers for any B2B or B2B service. So if you haven't read this book yet, 100% pick this one up, read it. It's extremely valuable. Next question was, did I have any mentors? And if so, who? So 100% yes. I have not gotten to where I am right now because I just figured it out and made everything up along the way. Investing yourself, working with coaches, working with mentors is literally the only way that you can progress and level up in business. And so I have spent easily over $200,000 in the past 4.5 to 5 years on different coaches and mentors for all different types of reasons, all different areas of the business and the agency. And I couldn't even list all the different people that I've worked with, but some of the main people that I've worked with at all different stages of my journey, probably my very first person that I would consider a mentor is someone that's not in the online business space whatsoever, but his name is Robert Dew. And he was actually someone that while I was still at university, did a guest speaker presentation, and he has a corporate consulting company for customer experience innovation. And so I ended up attending a lot of his workshops and started working with them in their company, doing some sales. And so he had founded a few other companies as well. And so he was probably one of my first mentors that I was able to work really closely with. Next, one of my first mentors was Jason Fox. He's another entrepreneur in the online coaching marketing agency space based out of Australia. And he was kind of one of the first people in Australia that was a few steps ahead of me that was in the same industry. And so Jason Fox is still in the same industry and has some incredible training and programs. So I'd 100% recommend checking him out. Some of the other people, I mean, Iman Gadzi, he's blown up a lot recently, but he was kind of one of the early guys with a course on the introduction to the SMMA business model. And so I did his very, very first program back in the day in like 2018, six-figure SMMA, which was like his very first agency program. And that was the one that kind of really got me into the business model in the first place. I've worked with people like Jordan Platten. I've done his program, and then I ended up, it's kind of full circle. I ended up collaborating with him and providing training within his program. And we did a Q&A or a podcast relatively recently on his extended channel, which has gotten some really good feedback, and we covered some really high level agency stuff. And so I'd 100% recommend checking that podcast out if you haven't seen it already. Sam Ovens, I recently joined one of Sam Ovens' newest masterminds, which is focused around launching and scaling masterminds. Sam Ovens is one of the OGs in the online education space. And so Sam Ovens has always been someone that I've followed for a very long time. Cole Gordon, he's kind of the guy behind the scenes that is teaching and managing everyone's sales strategies and sales teams. And so I've done some of Cole Gordon's programs, and I've been consuming his content for a long time. Rob Quinn is another person we've done some work with. Trey Cockram, and then also Matthew Lepre is more of like a personal mentor and a friend who he's got an education company in the e-com space where they've scaled to over $30 million in sales. And so he's definitely been a mentor to me in lots of senses. But yeah, those are some of the main mentors that come to mind that I've worked with. Next question was, what has been some of your best investment returns to date? So there's three kind of main things that come to mind, kind of like investments into crypto and stocks, investments into the business, and then investments into myself. And so probably the best investment that I've made in like the crypto and stocks category was I've been investing in crypto since like late 2017, and I've invested a whole lot into crypto up until this point and have quite a solid portfolio that's like mid to high six figures. It's actually a little bit less than that right now because crypto's taken a bit of a hit. But the largest my crypto portfolio has ever been is around like 750 to 800K. But my single best investment in terms of returns was at the lowest point of the crypto crash in 2020 when COVID was just starting. I bought $1,500 worth of Cardano at around 3 cents Australian. And at the peak of the bull run that followed that, Cardano went to around like $4.10 or $4.15 Australian. So that was about, I think it was 130 or 135x. And so you can do the math on that. We didn't sell out of all of that, but if we did sell at the top, that would have been around like 1,500 to like 130K with that investment. Next would definitely have to be ad spend. Once you have a good paid ads funnel set up for your service or your offer in the marketing agency business model, and you've got ad spend dialed in and a good sales team, ad spend is by far one of the best investments that I've ever made for myself and for the business. In the past like 10 to 12 months, we spent about $40,000 on Facebook ads for acquiring clients for our agency offer. And that has easily brought us over $600,000 in revenue from acquired clients just from that $40,000 in ad spend. And so that's like an 11 or 12x right there. Lastly would just be everything that I've ever invested in personal education, coaching, mentorship, different courses and programs. Like I gave that long list of mentors that I've had and that I've worked with. You could just learn one high level skill, and even if one high level skill it allows you the capacity to earn $15,000 to $20,000 a month and earn a solid multiple six figures a year, that is going to pay you for the lifetime that you're leveraging that skill. And if you're able to take something that you've learned and make $200,000 to $300,000 a year over a 10 to 20 year time horizon, that's paying you $3 to $6 million for something you can invest in a good amount of coaching programs for like $15,000 to $20,000, like multiple, and you can develop a skill that has that earning potential over the lifetime that you use it. And so up until this point, I've been able to grow businesses that are doing close to 7 figures a year, and I wouldn't have been able to get there without investing heavily into my self-education. Like Alex Mosey says, stop investing in the S&P 500 and start investing in the SMMA 500. It's a bit cheesy, but it's true. So next question was, which country or city do you want to live in for business and lifestyle reasons? So I'm in Australia right now, living on the Gold Coast, and I've lived in Australia my whole life. And I really like the country I live in, and I've done a lot of travel and have seen a good amount of the world. My dad is from America, and so we've gone back and forth from America quite a lot of times throughout my life. I've done a fair bit of travel throughout the world, and I really, really like Australia. I've grown up close to the beach and really enjoy living close to the beach. It's a safe country. It's good food, good people, good beaches. And so I really do enjoy living here. But I've just been overseas recently for the past 3 months and went on a trip to Mauritius. I was living in Mauritius for about 8 weeks, which is a country off the coast of Africa. And that was really a really cool experience living there. I went to Greece for just over 2 weeks. And then I went to Dubai 3 separate times. Was there for like 5 days, then 10 days, and then 2 days. And Dubai is definitely a place that I would consider setting up a base for a certain amount of time, purely for the tax benefits. It's something that a lot of people in the space are doing. Lots of different people in different industries are moving places like Puerto Rico, Dubai, to take advantage of the tax benefits. And I do think it makes sense to do that at some point. But it just really depends what your goals are. It is a bit of a game changer when you can live in a place and literally pay zero tax. In Australia, we're paying anywhere between 25 to 30% tax on our company, and then personal tax when we're taking money out of the business. And so when you're making a lot of money in the business, you're paying the government way too much money. And so I think that once I hit a threshold with my business where it makes sense to make that move, because I would purely be moving to a place like Dubai to take advantage of the tax benefits, my business would have to be at a place where it was just a no-brainer that the amount of tax that I'm paying is an overwhelming amount of money that it makes sense to make a significant change in my lifestyle. For me, that'd probably be around like the $2.5 to $3 million a year mark in revenue. And so I would definitely consider moving there, because I really, really love Dubai. It's an incredible city. It's incredibly safe. There's so much money there. There's so much networking. There's just a bit of an energy in the city that everyone there is doing something cool, and everyone's like working on a cool project, and you meet really, really interesting people in Dubai. So I 100% recommend visiting. There's great social life, great nightlife, incredible restaurants, just the caliber of everything. The customer service in Dubai is some of the best in the world, and so you could live a very, very good lifestyle there. And so I would not rule it out at all if in the next 2 to 3 years that I'm living there. I wouldn't live there long term, but I'd do it for maybe a 2 to 3 year period to take advantage of the tax benefits for sure. Next question was how to hire a sales team for a social media marketing agency. So when you're hiring a sales team, you've really only got 2 options. The main 2 roles that we're hiring for in a sales team is appointment setters and closers. And so you can either go through a specific recruitment agency that is specifically helps our types of business models recruit and train appointment setters and closers. And so that's the easiest option in terms of low time investment and low effort, but it's by far the most expensive. And so that's the obvious trade-off. And so I've trialed out a few of these companies and had mixed experiences. I've had good experiences with some, I've had really bad experiences with others. And most of the time, they're quite expensive. You're going to pay anywhere between $3K to $9K to have a closer placed into your agency. And so I think it makes a lot more sense initially to do the recruitment yourself and go through channels where you're generating applications for those types of roles yourself. And then once you're at a high level of scale and you just need high quality talent quickly, then using those services makes a lot more sense. But the ways that I've always recruited all talent for my business, but specifically closers and appointment setters, is through the following challenges. I just wrote some notes down so I can answer this. So number 1 is Facebook groups. There's a lot of Facebook groups out there for different niches, and there's a lot of Facebook groups for salespeople, appointment setters, closers. And so simply just putting up a post in different Facebook groups, you can get a lot of inbound inquiries to generate applications. Next is different masterminds and networks. And so a lot of the different coaching programs and masterminds that I've been in throughout the past 4.5, 5 years in the agency space, just asking around in different coaching programs and masterminds that you're in, asking for a referral, seeing if someone knows a good place to find a closer or an appointment setter, or if they know someone that knows someone, or if they worked with a closer that they can recommend. And so using those networks is really, really good. Next is just obvious job posting platforms like Indeed and Seek. You can pay $250, $300 to put a job post up on one of those platforms, create a job description, and get a good amount of inquiries and applications. that works really well. Next is LinkedIn ads. We've run LinkedIn ads to hire for different positions. LinkedIn ads work quite well. Sometimes the quality can be a bit poor, but it's just another channel that you can use. Next is personal brand. Personal brand and company brand is by far the best channel that you can ever have for talent acquisition, because any person that you hire that has come inbound to you from your personal or your company brand, they already know about the company. They already know what you do. They already have interest in working for you and selling your offer. And that's way better than a random person that's just like applying for a bunch of different random jobs. And sometimes they've got a lot of options, or they're kind of just hopping around looking for the best, who's going to give them the best price and the best deal. Whereas from your personal brand or your company brand, people are coming to you and they want to work with you. There's a lot more likely to be culture fit, and it's a lot cheaper. And so I've always acquired the best quality talent for my personal brand, and this is something that not a lot of people like to hear because it's not a quick solution. But the reality is if you good businesses are built by good people, and so if you want to have a good business in the long run, you need a solution for talent acquisition, and personal and company brand is the best way to execute on that and will solve your talent acquisition bottleneck. And so 100% you should start working on either developing a personal brand. If you don't want to develop a personal brand, then work on developing a company brand and produce consistent content for your agency socials and accounts, because good people are attracted to good opportunities. And so you need to create an image on your social media presence that your business is a good opportunity. It's a good team to be a part of. So that's how to hire a sales team for SMMA. So you want to generate at least like 8 to 10 applications when you're hiring for a new appointment setter or sales role. Then you conduct those interviews, shortlist the best applicants, hire, onboard, and train the best applicant. Next question was about mentioning some of the sub niches to work with inside of the real estate niche. And so this is a good point because, in the SMMA space, people are always talking and thinking about what are the best niches to work with. And a lot of the times the best niches to work with are these sub niches and niches within niches, because you can be a lot more specific in providing a more specific and tailored solution for an individual client type. For example, like some people might say, I'm an e-com agency owner, where e-com is, an e-com business is just anyone who sells anything online. Whereas within e-com, you've got women's clothing companies, you've got jewelry companies, you've got pet product e-com brands, you've got electronic e-com brands, and there's lots of agencies out there that kind of started off specializing and just working with one of these verticals within a certain niche. And it's the same within real estate. Within real estate, there's a bunch of different sub niches. We've got people that are your standard real estate sales agent. You've got people that are buyers agents and buyers advocates. You've got working specifically with broker owners and principals, people that actually own an entire real estate agency. You've got developers, and you've got people like real estate land investors. And so I've tried working with all of these different niches. We've worked with real estate land investors, we've worked with developers, we've worked with buyers agents, we've worked with a variation of all of these, and they've all got their pros and cons. I'm not going to get into the weeds of that on this video, but with a real estate land investor that we've worked with, they ended up being one of our biggest case studies in terms of pure ROI standpoint, and they had a $392,000 profit month. I've got a interview with that client in our Facebook group, Lead Gen SMMA, from a while ago, if you want to check that out. We've worked with directly with boutique developers doing buyer acquisition for off the plan projects, something like new generating buyers for new apartment buildings and things like that. But the vast majority of our clientele has always been just working directly with individual real estate agents. And so not sure too much what you wanted me to cover on that, but I think the best niches usually to go after are niches where there's a large pool of potential clients. That's why the real estate niche is one of the best, because there's just so many real estate agents out there and there's so many clients to go after. But if you're picking one of these sub niches, it's easier to create a more tailored solution around that type of client. And so sometimes it's easy to be more competitive because you're providing a more specific solution. Yeah. So next question was, would you recommend outsourcing the marketing agency when starting in SMMA? So short answer is yes. And I wish I outsourced the fulfillment and the marketing a lot sooner. And so in a nutshell, if you've got any aspiration to scale to a good level in the SMMA business model, getting to 25, 30, 40, 50K per month, then there's no possible world where you're scaling to that level in the business where you're doing any of the fulfillment whatsoever. And so if you're not going to be doing something at the stage of the business that you want to be in, then why start now? And so I think it's okay to get proof of concept for your first like 2 to 3 clients, just so that you can understand it. But honestly, you don't need to, because like at the end of the day, once your team grows, you're going to be hiring someone that is a specialist and already knows how to do the fulfillment, and they're going to be handling that anyway. And so you might as well just shortcut the first step and find someone that already knows how to do the strategy, and then you can leverage their performance and their success, their previous case studies and results, and you can use that to make it easier to sign your first few clients. And the best way to transition into that initially, when you don't want to pay someone a full-time salary, is just find a contractor that has some experience, and pay them on a per month, per client basis, so that they're just taking a certain say like $300, $500, $600 per month per client, for your first 10 to 15 clients, and so that there's no risk involved where you're not taking on a fixed expense regardless of how many clients that they're managing. And so then once you've got enough of a client capacity where it makes sense for you to hire for that full-time role, then you can transition over to that. So that's how I would recommend going about things. Next question was, did you ever doubt your pathway before success? If so, what helped? So absolutely. When I first kind of went down the make money online rabbit hole and kind of came across SMMA, I didn't actually seriously take action on it straight away whatsoever. And I kind of went through, learned about it, did a few courses, dabbled with it a little bit, started to try and get some clients, but I wasn't really trying to make it work. And I was studying full-time at university, and I was just wanting to try something that maybe could be viable for me to do once I graduated, but also just to have something that would be less time intensive than working a job, so that I would have some extra money throughout university. And I actually found it really hard to get a job while I was at university for whatever reason, just because it's, there's a lot of other uni students wanting to get, just basic jobs like retail jobs, like hospitality jobs or random jobs here and there. And so it took me ages to just find a job. And the struggle that I had with working different jobs, leaving different jobs, or just struggling to stay in a job was really the thing that motivated me, that gave me the level of like certainty and confidence to just continue wanting to build my own thing. And so long story short, like I worked at a call center for a little bit and then left that job because I don't know, I can't remember why. Then I worked this like manual labor job where we were replacing the shelving in shopping centers, and that was like overnight shifts from 9 p.m. to like 6 a.m. and that was absolutely horrible, and I left that job very, very quickly. Then I had a job doing in-person sales at shopping centers, where doing like the sales of raffle tickets for prize homes, where you're like stopping people trying to sell them signing up to a monthly subscription for these charity raffles, and that was just absolutely horrible. I really, really hated that. And then I got a job doing like retail sales, selling suits, and then this was like the final straw for me. I'd like finally gone through the process of working all of these shitty jobs, and then I got one that I thought would be okay for the time being while I was finishing my degree. And then literally I got that job, and the week that I got the job, the company that hired me announced that they were shutting down and that they'd gone bankrupt. And that was just kind of like the final straw for me, where I was like, okay, I've been trying for so long to get to just have a normal job, and it's just not happening. So that's what kind of shifted my mindset to go, I believe more in myself than I do other people. And so I'm just going to go all in on creating my own thing, because I don't want to go to interviews. I don't want to work for someone else. I don't want to worry about if someone else's business is going to shut down. I want to be in control of achieving my goals. And so that drive, I think, is what pushed me to never even second guess quitting. And so I think that like if you have a standard for yourself where quitting just isn't an option, like in your mind, that's not even something that you would consider, then everything else doesn't really matter, because you can have doubts and you can second guess if you're doing the right thing in the moment, or if you're executing on the right strategy, or if you're spending your time on the right thing, or if you're going to be able to solve a problem or not. But as long as quitting isn't an option, then if you stick it out for long enough, then you're guaranteeing that you're going to be successful, because there is no one in these types of business models that if you stick it out for at least like a year to a year and a half, you're going to be making money and you're going to be successful in it. And so that is literally all you need to do, is just go in with it with the mindset that I'm not going to quit this thing for a year and a half, and it's literally impossible not to be successful. So that's my 2 cents on that. Next question, which was a bit random, but was, do you think Instagram theme pages is a good side hustle? So long story short, probably not. Just because I know how many other business models out there that are better. To my knowledge, honestly, I don't know that much about Instagram theme pages, but I know that they were a lot more of a popular business model about 5 to 6 years ago, but now they seem very, very saturated. And unless you've got like a very, very large theme page, then the potential monetization from a theme page isn't worth it at the end of the day, because I think the amount of time that goes into growing a theme page, I don't think you're developing that many valuable skills, because I think that there's two kind of objectives that you can think about with if a business model is worthwhile or not. It's one, like what's the opportunity of how much money we can make? And then two, what skills are we acquiring along the way, going through the process of having to learn that business model? And I think there's so many other business models like the social media marketing agency, like drop shipping, like running a consulting business, where you learn so many more valuable skills that you'll be able to monetize those skills for eternity. Whereas with a theme page, it can be here today, gone tomorrow. Something can change with the algorithm. It's worth significantly less. You can't monetize it. And all the time that would go into creating content for a theme page could go into creating content for a personal brand or a brand for a business that you've started, where you're selling a high ticket product or service, where you've got a lot more predictability with income and revenue for a business that you actually own and have a lot more control over. So I wouldn't be starting an Instagram theme pages business. Next question was, what is the number one personal development skill that leveled me up? So I think it's not really like one skill whatsoever, but I think it's just doing a few certain things consistently over time. And I think in general, which is so cliche, but getting comfortable with failure and actually knowing that failing is growth, that you want it and you want to do things where you're going to fail because you know it's lessons. That is probably one of the best mindsets that you can have, because it just speeds up your progress because you're taking more action. I think the majority of the time, what holds people back from making progress is they just don't take anywhere near as much action as they could be, or they don't play big enough because they are worried about a negative outcome, when the negative outcome is actually a good thing because it's learning. And you develop this mindset the more and more that you keep getting that positive feedback loop of trying something new that's risky, that might fail, and actually failing but learning something from it, and then taking the learnings from it, reapplying it, and then growing. And so you get to a point where you genuinely view failure as a very good thing, because it's like, cool, I've got that out of the way, I've learned this thing, I had to learn that, and now I know what to do. And that's like the thing, that's when you discover the strategies that level you up. And so I think having that mindset, taking risks, continuing to invest in yourself and the business, patience, persistence, having a growth mindset overall, that's probably the most important thing when it comes to just leveling up from a personal development standpoint. Next question was, if you had to start over from scratch tomorrow, what business would you do? So these questions are a little bit hard to answer, because it's like, obviously it's a hypothetical world that doesn't exist, and why spend time and give energy and entertain a question for a reality that doesn't exist? And also because if I was starting from scratch tomorrow, then I would be able to leverage all of the work that I've done up until this point, all of the personal brand that I've created, the audience that I've got, all of my knowledge about the business model that I've been in, and everything that I've done up until this point to launch a business. And so it's kind of very heavily biased based on my current reality and my current experience. And so based on my current situation, if like I got wiped out tomorrow, for some reason someone stole my businesses off me, if my bank account was empty, then I'd be doing the exact same thing and launching the exact same thing. I would be launching and scaling a social media marketing agency, selling a marketing agency service to the same niche. I might test a few different niches, because just for the sake of it, because I was starting from scratch. But I honestly believe that the social media marketing agency business model is just one of the best online business models out there, because it's consistent recurring revenue, it's high profit margins, it's relatively simple to automate and outsource with a team. And social media isn't going anywhere. It's a good hedge against, just the macroeconomic environment of looming recessions. Businesses aren't going anywhere. Businesses are always going to need customers. The main thing that we're doing and that we're selling is helping businesses get customers. And so our service is always going to be in need if we're doing a good job. And so a social media marketing agency is the business model that I would start hands down if I was starting from scratch. Next question, which I think will be our second last, was what do you define as success? So I think for me that there's a difference between success and goals. Like goals are kind of more targets that you create for an objective, for something to work towards in the business. But success is more, to me, it's a feeling, and it changes all the time. And for me, like when I first started in this business model and just started the path of personal development and online business, my version of success at the time was just being able to earn the equivalent of what I considered a good pay, something like $80,000 to $100,000 a year, but completely on my own terms, without having to answer to anyone, and having time and location freedom, being able to travel, being able to work from wherever I wanted, and having that freedom. And so that was my version of success at the time. And very, very luckily, I was able to achieve that in a relatively quick time frame. And so now my version of success is pretty much the same. It's just all about having as much freedom in my life, but having that freedom, the standards have kind of just increased as I've experienced different things and want to have different things in my life. And so freedom for me is being able to drive the exact car that I want to drive, being able to wear the clothes that I want to wear, and not having to think about how much I'm spending. It's being able to buy expensive watches like this and being able to spend money on fun things like that, being able to travel whenever I want and not having to think about budgeting for a holiday, being able to pay for things for friends and family. Like last week I booked a trip for myself and paid for my girlfriend to go on a trip to Japan. And so things like that, being able to have the freedom and flexibility to do that. Like I've just been traveling for 3 months, going to see different places around the world, staying in nice hotels, eating out all the time and not having to think about how much I'm spending. To me, that is success and freedom. And I'm definitely living a version of what I would consider success right now. But I think the future version of success of what I'm wanting to achieve is definitely closer to the impact that I want to have. And I definitely have like an overall kind of net worth goal of how much I want to have by a certain time frame. But at the end of the day, success is about the freedom that I have in my life and those things that I just covered. Cool. So lastly, what are the goals that I have for 2023? So the goals that I have is, number one, I want to launch a consultancy offer for my marketing agency, as opposed to purely only offering a done for you service. And so I think that that's going to be something that will be a bit of a trend among the kind of SMMA community over the next 12 to 18 months. I think the consultancy model makes a lot of sense. It's a lot more scalable from a fulfillment standpoint. Your clients are a lot more accountable to results, and it's a high value add product, and it's a very good business model. And so launching a consulting offer is one of the goals for 2023. Next is to launch a SaaS offer in the agency. And so to have a software component of the agency where we have created a custom software solution for pipeline and CRM management for our clients, and building up recurring revenue for the software side of things. Next is, between the businesses, a revenue milestone for next year is 3 million. And so that's the goal that I've got for next year. And I'm very, very confident that we're going to be able to hit that. But 3 million in revenue is what I want to hit between the mastermind, the consulting company for agency owners, as well as the marketing agency itself. Next, I definitely want to work on growing the YouTube channel to 50,000 subscribers. I think that's a very reasonable milestone to hit by the end of next year. And so hopefully we can make that happen. We'll see. And then lastly, the main goal that I'm most excited about is honestly building one of the best masterminds and education products for marketing agency owners in the world, because I think that there is a lot of gaps in the market in terms of the caliber of products and mentorship and coaching services out there. And so I'm really, really passionate about building an exceptional product and an exceptional coaching and mentorship experience for agency owners. And so that's what I'm working on right now, and that's what we're building at Scale Matrix. So that is absolutely everything. Those were all the questions that I wanted to cover. I hope some of these were interesting and valuable. Like I said, if you want to have your question featured on one of the next Q&As, please follow me on Instagram. It's just at liam.casey. And you can keep up to date with behind the scenes what I'm working on a daily basis, see what I'm doing between the two companies. And that's it for this one. Thank you so much. Peace.